Hello, and welcome to Mondays with May from Arts for All. My name is Mélissa, and this is Candy Girl. I am a teaching artist with Arts for All, and if you've had me in your classroom or if you've been watching, you might recognize me as Miss May. Hello. For those of you that don't know Arts for All offers accessible artistic opportunities to children in the New York City area. We are always working to incorporate our 5 core values, working to build self-confidence, self-expression, teamwork, resilience, and creativity in children. And while our focus does remain in New York City, through all of our virtual learning content, we are so happy to have children from all over be able to join us, like here on Mondays with May. I wonder where you are joining us from. I'm coming to you from my apartment in Brooklyn, New York on Lenape land. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, tell us in the comments where you are viewing this video from. Well, I think it's time that we dive into our warm-up and then we'll talk about our theme. So I'm going to stand up. You can copy me as best as you can. Do things that feel safe and comfortable on your body and in your space. I'm going to start by sending my energy up. What does upwards energy look like on your body and in your space? Then send your energy down, downwards energy. And then again, send your energy up, upwards energy. I'm going up on my toes. And again, downwards energy. Send your energy down, down. And come back up. Now we're going to stretch over to one side. I'm going to stretch and I'm going to say, ooh, ooh. Reach and stretch to the other side. Say, ah, ah. And now we're going to open real big and say, wow, 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 wow. And do and say, twist, 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 twist. And again, reach over and say, ooh, ooh, ooh. And reach and stretch to the other side. Say, ah, ah. And open real big and say, wow, 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 wow. Do and say, twist, 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 twist. Now we're going to isolate our head. I'm going to look up to my ceiling and down to my toes, up to my ceiling and down to my toes, ceiling, toes, ceiling, toes, ceiling, toes, ceiling, toes, ceiling, toes, ceiling, toes, and nod your head. Say yes, 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 yes. Say yes. Uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. Now look over one shoulder, over your other shoulder, over one shoulder, over the other shoulder, looking shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, look shoulder, 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 shoulder. Shake your head. Say no. No way. No way. Say no. No way. Say no means no. All right, now we're going to move our shoulders, and I'm going to move my shoulders back. Roll those shoulders back, back, back. And now roll your shoulders to the front, to the front, to the front. Now I'm going to move my shoulders in opposite direction like a bicycle. Can you move your shoulders in opposite directions like a bicycle? And the other direction like a bicycle. And now lift those shoulders up and shrug. Say, I don't know. And drop them. And shrug. Say, I don't know. and drop them, and shrug those shoulders, lift them up high, and drop them one more time. Drop up with those shoulders, big shrug, say, I don't know, and drop them and give your shoulders a shimmy and a shake. Good. And now we're going to isolate our hips. We are going to do hip bumps. 8 hip bumps one way, then 8 the other way. Then we're going to do 4 each way, 4 and 4. We've done 8, then we did 4. Can you guess how many next? 2 each way. Then we did 8, then 4, then 2, then 1, back and forth. You can get funky with it and count with me out loud. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yes. All right. Now we are going to shake our entire body. And we are going to count backwards from 10 to 0. When we get to 0, I'll tell you about today's theme. All right, shake your entire body for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. Well, today is March 2022. It's the last day of Mondays with May in the month of March. And in the month of March, we celebrate Women's History Month. Yay, happy Women's History Month. During Women's History Month, we celebrate important women in history and society. And I wonder if you have any favorite women in your life you would want to celebrate this month. Tell us in the comments if you have a favorite woman in history or society. Maybe it's someone from your family or your community. Let us know who it is. And we are going to be looking at a very special woman for our program today named Katherine Johnson. We're going to start off reading a book. Today's book is called Counting on Katherine: How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13. I wonder if you've ever heard of this person, Katherine Johnson. This book is by Helaine Becker with illustrations by Phumiruk. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. All right. And as usual, this is a book I checked out from the library because if you know anything about Miss May, you know Miss May loves the library. Oh, so there is Katherine. And look at this board. It is full of numbers and equations. This is a good equation about how many slices of pizza everyone can get. Math can come in handy all the time. So from this picture right here, what can you guess already about Katherine Johnson? If you guessed that she liked numbers and math, you guessed correctly. All right. Counting on Katherine. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps to the church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. How many steps to the road? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only things she didn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, The stars sparked her imagination. What was out there? I don't know if you can see this, but here is Katherine in her window looking out to the stars, very curious. Young Katherine. Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, about everything. Katherine's boundless curiosity turned her into a star student. She was so bright, she skipped 3 whole grades. Can you imagine going up 3 grades? She catapulted right past her brother. He wasn't too happy about that. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready for high school. So let's think about that for a second. Most 10-year-olds are in about 5th grade. And here is Katherine ready to go into 8th or 9th grade to go to high school. She was really flying in school. She was very, very smart, very, very bright, exceptionally so. But back then, America was legally segregated by race. Her town's high school did not admit Black students of any age. Katherine burned with fury. She wanted more than anything to keep learning. There was still so much to know. Can you imagine? You worked so hard and you had all of the understanding and had done all the work to be able to advance. And the only reason she wasn't allowed into the high school was because the high school didn't allow any Black students to go to that school. She is so upset. Count on me, Katherine's father told her. Okay. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a Black high school, a high school for Black students. So this is White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. That's where they lived. They made it all the way to Institute of West Virginia. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that are the foundations of our universe. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine at this time wouldn't have been able to be a researcher in math, all because she was a woman. Even though she was so good with numbers, all because she was a woman, she would not have been able to do that job. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job and she loved her students, but she never stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. In the 1950s, the U.S. government's National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, NACA, hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring Black women as mathematicians. And at the time, that was a huge deal. Women weren't allowed to be mathematicians in jobs before. And now they were even hiring Black women who had been not allowed to work certain jobs at that time also. Katherine heard about the mathematician jobs. Her heart raced with excitement. Ooh, perhaps her dream could come true after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told they were already filled. Oh, man. Katherine had to wait a whole year until new spots opened up. A year? A whole year? Her patience paid off and she got the job. Have you ever had to be patient for something? Have you ever had to wait so long to get the thing you hoped for? A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching a space race with the United States. NACA, that's the organization she worked for, was rolled into a new space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer. Electronic computers were not widely used yet. She was calculating long series of numbers. All the computers were women. They were given the tasks that men thought were boring and unimportant. That didn't bother Katherine. She knew that without her contributions, a spaceship couldn't reach its destination nor safely return to Earth. Does that sound boring and unimportant to you? That sounds super important. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball into the air. At first, the force of the throw sends the ball up, up, up. But as its energy runs out, the ball's path curves back toward the ground. Where it lands depends on what angle it was thrown and how high and how fast it flew. Because math is kind of language, Katherine could ask those questions. How high would the rocket ship go? And how fast would it travel? Using numbers. And numbers would provide the all-important answer. Where would it land? To find out, Katherine plotted the numbers she calculated on a graph. When she joined the points together, they formed a curved line. At one end of the line was Earth at the time the rocket ship launched. At the other was where Earth would be when the ship landed. That's so cool. You can see her graph there. Katherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first American astronauts into space. Mercury's missions were going to be dangerous. So dangerous that even the project's star astronaut, John Glenn, refused to fly unless Katherine okayed the numbers. You can count on me, she said. Glenn's spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited Earth 3 times and returned home safely. Glenn became a national hero. So orbiting Earth, that means it went around the Earth 3 times before it landed. And there's an illustration of Glenn with this Friendship 7 spacecraft. Katherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight paths for Project Apollo, the first flights to the moon. Count on me, she said. On July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts walked on the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. Woo! More triumphs followed. Apollo 12 rocketed to the moon in November 1969. Apollo 13 launched on April 11th, 1970, but on the third day of Apollo 13's flight, the worst thing happened. An explosion in space. Could the crippled spaceship make it to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in big trouble. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, Houston, we have a problem. Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got a phone call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Katherine told Mission Control, you can count on me. She rolled up her sleeves, took a deep breath, and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Katherine's calculations were finished. The flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot to zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Katherine's course exactly by burning off fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. Oh my goodness. This would be so stressful. Let's see what happens next. Oh. Katherine waited anxiously to hear the astronauts' report. Finally, it crackled over the loudspeakers. We've got it! Apollo 13 was back on track. Yeah! You could see everyone in the office cheering. Oh my goodness. Katherine saved the day. Katherine Johnson had done it again. She'd brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. Wow. This is more information about Katherine Johnson. She really saved the day there with her math skills. Can you imagine? And they thought that the math and the numbers were boring and unimportant. Those astronauts could have been floating in space forever. Well, Katherine Johnson, what a treasure. Here is a picture of Katherine Johnson from when she was younger, when she was working at NASA. There she is with her computer, being a human computer. And Katherine Johnson lived until she was 101 years old, up to just a few years ago. And here she is. I mean, she was 101 years old. And there she is later in her life when she was older. Amazing. Just like those people were celebrating that Katherine Johnson saved the day, I think that called for a victory dance. Let's get ready to do our 60-second dance break victory dance. Here we go. For today's 60-second dance break, we are dancing to the song Keep Your Beat by Robbi K. Robbi Khumalo, a friend of mine, Grammy-nominated artist. Woo-hoo-hoo. And for today's dance break, why not? Let's go inside a space shuttle. You're going to hear lots of counting in lots of different languages. Just like Katherine said, you can count on me. Let's go to the space shuttle.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bleiben takt. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ichi, ni, san, shi. Chalu, reka. E, ton, din, jir, iki, uch, dot. bilico tatu gune. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey.
Did you get down in that space shuttle? Let's take 3 deep breaths together. I'm going to use my hands to scoop the air. Here we go. One last breath together. Give yourself a big squeeze. And Katherine was really, really good at numbers and math. I want you to remind yourself of something that you're really good at and give yourself some love. All right, friends, some ideas for things to do later as we keep thinking about the legacy of Katherine Johnson. Well, she helped save the Apollo 13. What if we made some of our own rocket ships? You could draw a rocket ship. There's lots of different ways. You can trace your hand and add some flames. You can get a little more 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. I didn't make this one today, but I've made this before. You can use a paper towel roll or toilet paper roll to make a rocket ship, or you could make a 3D rocket ship origami. I found a really cool YouTube video. It took me about 10 minutes to make this. So I'm going to share the link with you of a really cool way to make an origami rocket ship. And I'm going to show you mine. Okay, this is mine. I used construction paper, which worked fine. And before I started, I had to make sure it was in the shape of a square. So I did need scissors. I used scissors to cut it into the shape of a square. And then check this out. If you make this rocket ship and you get a straw that bends, and you blow into it, watch what happens. It can fly. So there's one idea. You can do a rocket ship craft. I made a pretty silly doodle of a human computer. I had this idea in my head of a human computer because that's what Katherine was called, a human computer. She was doing all the calculating before computers were really widespread. Okay, it is pretty silly. Are you ready? This is my drawing of a human computer. Maybe you can make your drawing, your rendition of a human computer. If you do, I would love to see your drawings and your crafts. You can email them to us at learnmore@artsforall.org. Really love to see what you all do. And lastly, the last thing to do is to continue celebrating women. Celebrate the women in your life. Today is the last program of Women's History Month this year. But before we move on, quick question. Do we only celebrate women's history and women's achievement in the month of March? What do you think? No way. Not at all. Should we recognize and celebrate women all year long? Yes, absolutely. Definitely. So keep celebrating the women in your life, and you can celebrate the woman you might grow up to be and the people you may grow up to be. I wonder what cool things you will accomplish, what sort of history you could be making. Well, everyone, that is the end of our program for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me, Miss May, here. If you've been enjoying the program, would you mind taking a really quick survey? It's 2 questions long. It's in the comments. If you fill that out, it would really help us out at Arts for All. And that's all we have for you today. I hope you all have an excellent week, and I'll see you next time.
Two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Legend acht. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ichi, ni, san, shi.